Welcome to Dyspraxic Rosie Writes, a channel where we talk about dyspraxia, chronic illness, and the writing life. Now that I have done 2 book launches in total, I wanted to try and dispel some of the mystique around it, so to speak. I really found that when I did my first book launch for this book here, Stumbling Through Space and Time, I found that the reason I didn't sleep too well the night before the launch was because I didn't really have a plan, because I didn't know what to expect. And no one really told me particularly what to expect. And honestly, I don't really see that as anyone's fault. I think we just don't, in many cases as authors, when we're starting out, have that great of a community and that great of access to resources on what exactly that can look like. And I think I very much fell into that trap. Even though I've been freelancing for quite some time, I am an actor's kid, so I've grown up going to all kinds of film screenings, theater screenings, and things like that. Still, I had kind of a mix of a not confident enough attitude when I did my first book launch, and I guess somewhat of an attitude of being very nervous, very excited, not really knowing what to expect. And so going into it, I didn't really have a plan. And although I emailed a bunch of organizations and a bunch of various other places that could potentially host the launch, I fell way too much into the trap of assuming somebody else was going to do the work for me. And even though eventually I got the chance to do an Instagram Live with Jessica Kingsley Publishers, I waited too long to take my launch plans into my own hands when all my other plans didn't work out. So that meant that actually I didn't technically have much of a launch. But we do put so much emphasis on the launch as being important. And I think by far more the important part, as someone in something so specifically niche as neurodiversity and dyspraxia, was the relationships I formed along the way, whether that be writing for publications, or being on the board of a charity related to this area, or meeting people at events, doing speaking engagements, all these long things that aren't tied to a specific date. So years later, when it was time to launch my second book, Studying with Dyspraxia, I realized that that was very much an approach I needed to take. So much of my plan came into reaching into my existing network. Months in advance before my launch of my second book, I started to reach out to universities because I thought that might be a very logical approach to how I could possibly do events. And although that didn't work out, I came up with an even better idea when that didn't work out as quickly as I anticipated, which was that I decided that I had a really good network of neurodivergent and dyspraxic author peers. And I was like, well, why don't I reach out to them and ask them if they want to do a live stream event with me? By then, I was starting to have a YouTube channel, and it was slowly growing a bit. I wasn't exactly in the same range as my friend Crystal Shaw was with Dyspraxia Magazine when she started to do streams with other advocates, in terms of numbers, but it still created a basis, and I had a decent LinkedIn following by then, and there was lots of enthusiasm and excitement. But the problem was that enthusiasm and excitement wasn't really limited to one geographic region. And I didn't want to make the launch just about that. So I reached out to Maxine Francis Roper, and I reached out to Charlotte O'Neill, both two amazing authors in dyspraxia and neurodiversity space. And with a bit of back and forth and emailing and Zoom calls, I convinced them both to do the launch. And my main tip about doing a live stream launch is to come really prepared. Start promoting it really far in advance and make sure that all involved know exactly what time. You have a buffer zone for anything going wrong. You have very clear instructions, because since you're all tuning in from different locations, you have to have a very clear sense on what exactly you're going to do about the fact that you're in different locations and not have to depend on anyone else. Yeah, so that clear instructions element is really great. And I think I'm fairly happy with how it turned out. You can watch the replay on my YouTube channel, and there was a lot of interest and excitement in bringing together the community for this. And I'm continuing to hear from people who, either in the replay or live, found a great deal of value in the concept of bringing three women that are very similar in such a specific way together. And since then, what I've done is, besides just my usual consulting work, I have started to reach out to a bunch of organizations that are related to the content of the book itself. Now, those of you who have looked up Studying with Dyspraxia will know that Studying with Dyspraxia is a study skills guide about navigating dyspraxia as a dyspraxic university student. So of course, some of the groups I've been doing emails, targeted emails towards, have been relevant forms of media. They have been disability support organizations. They have been special education related organizations, inclusive education organizations, anything under that broader category. And rather than tying that to the launch date once again, although I did go into quite a bit of work on it and started this campaign around the launch, has been reaching out to those people and making them aware of the book and encouraging them to go and get review copy access and making it quite easy for them to do that, and having a link to the sales page for it. And I think that has been by far my most valuable thing during the launch and after the launch for what to do about getting the word out there about the book. But all this outreach has made me really realize too that my network is much stronger than I think it is. I think as authors, we get too bogged down in how many social media followers we have and the day-to-day who is interacting with what and doing what in the short term. But during this period of time on this second launch, what I've really come to realize is that through this slow and gradual process of being part of relevant communities, writing in this area, speaking in this area, I have met a lot of really relevant advocates in the neurodiversity and disability space, more broadly speaking, and also people that have the more education or medical background as well, a real broad spectrum of experiences and media contacts. And I think by far the most valuable thing of all, when you're going to write something that niche and try to publish something that niche, is to think about what these helpful communities are and how you can build these relationships in a meaningful and authentic way. All right, so if you would have started reading Studying with Dyspraxia, hopefully you enjoy it, and I hope to hear back from you. I've really been on what you've been enjoying about the book. I have really been enjoying the feedback on social media from people who read the book and found some level of value in it. As an author, you spend so much time working in isolation, and I think all those little comments make a really big difference in being reminded that your work is making an impact, and I think that's really, really important. And also, too, I am coming back to the UK for September the 9th. I'm doing a special education panel with a few other people with relevant experiences in this area with the Naidex Roadshow. And maybe I'll see some of you there. Happy reading, happy writing, my friends.